I need to think about it. What do you do when this sentence comes up in a sales call? Should you ask them, what do you need to think about, and all of that? What are the best recipes for this? That's what we're going to be covering in this video. My name is Michael Bohannes. Together with my wife, we run a coaching program for consultants and anybody selling B2B services. We help you win new clients. And we have been doing this for quite a while. So I've heard this sentence of, I need to think about quite a few times. And so I've developed quite a unique perspective on this. At least I haven't heard it from anybody else. So I hope that while my perspective is not necessarily simple, doesn't give you like, oh, just say this and you solve the problem. But I think it will give you a really good perspective and a new way of looking at this so that you can gradually become better at sales, and therefore that this stuff will happen less and less to you. Okay, but let's get into the details. So when somebody tells you I need to think about it, it is usually the symptom of one main problem, and that is that you haven't sold them on the value of your product. And that could simply be they don't believe that you are the right fit for them fundamentally, or maybe you are the right fit, they just don't believe that you will be good enough at what you do, even if it's a coaching program, good enough in making them do the work that they need to be doing. Basically, there's a lack of confidence that you will actually help them bring a desired result that is worth more than the money that they pay you. So it's a long, elaborate way of saying you haven't sold them well enough. And that is the fundamental problem. When you get the I need to think about it, it means that in somewhere along the journey that you've taken them, you have simply not sold them well enough. Okay? And so the answer to this is, unfortunately, in the moment when it happens, not much you can do about this. And I will actually cover one specific thing that you can say that I believe will give you really good results, but let's cover that at the end. But fundamentally, you need to become a better salesperson. So in the moment, you cannot do much, but the result is let's analyze what has happened here. Where in the process of a sales call have I made a mistake? Where have I not explored their problem and their pain well enough? Have I not really understood their motivations? Are their motivations clear? Do we have a clarity of vision? Where do they want to get to? Do we have a clear from state, like where they are now and where they want to be? And have I built that bridge between those two states well enough and positioned myself as the guide over that bridge? That is effectively a summary of a sales call. And if you record your sales calls, which I always recommend you do, of course, always with the consent of the prospect, when you record those sales calls, you can then trace back what happened and whether you have made a mistake at one of those points. Probably many people make mistakes, myself included, but you just need to learn from your experiences and compare it to an ideal sales call so that you understand where you did something wrong. So the answer to this sentence, I need to think about it, is that you simply go back and become a better salesperson. However, that's not everything. You also need to become a better buyer. And there's a strange thing. It's like a little bit of karmic justice that says you buy like you sell and you sell like you buy. Okay? Probably you've heard that already somewhere, but it's essentially like when you are asking your vendors for discounts. Okay, when you pay really late, chances are this is going to transpire and you will get treated in the same way. People will ask you for discounts and you will get paid late. So I want to encourage you to become a better buyer. I've had several times that it has happened to me that somebody on a sales call tells me that one of their challenges during sales calls is that their clients tell them I need to think about it, And then when it comes to me making the offer and they deciding whether they want to sign up or not, then they say I need to think about it. It's like I always pointed out to them, you say, do you realize that you're actually doing exactly the thing that you said that annoys you when your prospects do that? Okay, so how about we just stop doing that? Stop doing that now. And so therefore, once they utter these words, I need to think about it. It's very difficult to get them out of that state. It's not impossible, and I've done it a couple of times, but it's like they have staked their ego on this. And then changing their mind on the call is probably a little bit unlikely. So you don't even want to get to that point. You don't want to get to the point where they say, I need to think about it. So what does it mean to become a better buyer? How do we become a better buyer? I think it's mainly about truly empathizing with them and understanding the process of selling, and then simply not doing the bad things that bad buyers do. Like, for example, first of all, do your research on them. If it's something that is a major investment for you, several thousand, maybe you're going to be going for agency services or some kind of consulting project. Whenever it's something relatively big like this, do your research about them. Why would you ever go on a sales call with someone without having first checked their website, see if there's any testimonials about them, see if they have any pricing, so I'm not completely surprised by the price, and so on? Why not spend 5 minutes on that? Just make sure you do that, because I sometimes get people who are on a call, and I don't judge. I really make it a point of not judging anyone who's coming to calls. So even, for example, when we talk afterwards with my wife about how a sales call went, I don't say, oh, this guy was, and so on. I don't rant about people. I always seek if I made a mistake, I always look for the mistakes with me. But I also consider it strange that somebody would go on a sales call, would take 1 hour out of their day without first checking their counterparts' bona fides, right? You just would go on their LinkedIn profile, check what they're about. Go on their website, maybe check if there are any videos on YouTube. Okay, so that is one aspect of good buyer behavior. Do a little bit of research about them. And the second thing is, don't do the things that would really annoy you in the sales process. Like, for example, say, I need to think about it without much specifics, or then not following up once you sort of leave it open at the end of the sales call, which is already bad. But then afterwards, they try to, follow up with you and ask you, hey, so what are your thoughts? And you then ghost them and ignore them. This is really bad behavior. Again, I'm not judging you as a person if you do this, but it is simply not conducive behavior. It just makes the entire economic system inefficient. Why would you do this? Why simply not tell them, listen, it's a no, I don't want to work with you. Let me know if you want me to tell you the reasons, okay? You don't even have to go into the reasons if you don't want to, but at least offer it. And then if they ask for it, just give them 3 bullet points, very simple. But if you don't want this to happen to yourself, why would you inflict it on somebody else? Okay, so point number 2 here in summary is be a good buyer, because then the universe will conspire to also put you in front of good buyers on your end. And by the way, that is the only time when I fully accept, without any kind of counter arguments or anything like that, I fully accept somebody telling me I need to think about it, in the case when they tell me something along the following lines. All right, great. Thank you so much for your pitch. I really appreciate you took the time. Listen, this is where I'm at. I'm also talking to 2 other people, and I'm going to be talking to one tomorrow and then the day after tomorrow. Then I would like to take 1 day to truly hash this over with my business partner. And then I will let you know by Thursday evening. Would that be okay with you? Okay. And with this, you communicate that you're in charge of the process, that you give them a very clear timeline, and that you also inform them of who else is involved in the process, right? I'm talking to 2 other vendors, then I'm going to think about it, talk about it with my partner, and by the end of that day, and then actually at the end of that day, do follow up with them. Put it in your calendar. This is not something you talk about with 17 people every other week or so. This is quite a one-off purchase. So keep to your word. Do what you said that you would do. It's going to bring good karma. So just be a good buyer. So this is the only time when somebody gives me something like this, and it happens on occasion, where I fully accept I need to think about it, and I don't try to do any counter arguments. So what can we do when this does happen? When you get the I need to think about it line, although you've become a better seller, although you've become a really good buyer, it still will happen. So what can we do? Now, I've heard several different angles to this, some better, some worse. Among the worst ones were the ones where you're supposed to ask, what are you going to think about? I don't think this is good, because it just simply reinforces. They will now reflect on this. They will now give you specific things, and that will only further drive them down the hole that they started going into. So I don't think that's a good line. I've heard a good one, which seems to me like it's okay. I just don't believe that it has the power to really make a big change. And that is to ask, well, John, when this happens, it's usually 1 of 3 things. People don't believe in themselves, they don't believe in me, or they don't believe in the product. Which one is it for you? And that line is, I just don't think that it's going to really change people's minds. They will just give you a response, well, yeah, I don't believe that it's the product, or this, I believe it's me, And then what? Where do you go from there? Very often when people have started going down that hole of I need to think about it, it's very hard to get them out of it. So I believe in polarization at this point. And that is because 90% of the times people have already made up their minds. So you want to just simply make sure that you know which of the camps people fall into. Because the 10% of people who have not made up their mind, who genuinely want to think about it, they just need a little bit of time. It was just too much information now. Just want to go away, settle, and this is how they make a decision. I don't want to give them this line of, well, you need to be making decisions fast because this is how Jeff Bezos makes decisions and so on. I don't want to be, it feels icky, If they truly want to make the decision like this, who am I to tell them that this is not the right way? But because here I become a little bit selfish, I want to know if this is somebody actually worth following up with and investing in or not. Chances are they are not, because chances are 90% that they will not want to work with me. And so what do? I present them with an offer that they really cannot refuse. And I use it in combination with a line that I learned from Alex Hormozy, which is really good. And that is, listen, John, you and I both know this is not like you're not going to go into your rocking chair. You're not going to, light a pipe and then ponder philosophically whether now this is the right time to work with me or not. And then, eureka, you have come up with the response. It's just not going to go like this. In reality, you're just going to go home, have to pick up the laundry, have to pick up the kids from piano practice, and then work is going to come on, and you will basically forget what we talked about. And then a week later, I'm going to follow up with you and say, hey, are you still considering working with us? And then oh yeah, this guy. And let me say no, and this is how it's going to go. So instead of this, instead of the following up and all of this mess, how about we do something else? How about we give you a real taster, a risk-free taster of how it is working with us? Let's do our first session together. I'm going to ask you for a refundable deposit now. And then we're going to give you all the to-dos. You're going to do a little bit of homework for our first session together. And we'll do it. And you will get, no matter what, you're going to get a ton of value from that session. But if after the end of that session, you believe that it's not a fit, you didn't like that session, you don't like how we work, I will go live, promised, on the call, and I will go and hit the refund button. You're going to get the refund right away. Okay? And that offer, if somebody is not even willing to accept that offer, then I know that they're in the 90% camp. They have already made up their mind. And if they then give you an excuse here, oh, no, it sounds good, but no, I still need to think about it. Okay, just say thank you. I appreciate your time. Bye-bye. You're probably never going to see them again. But, and it has happened to me that somebody said, okay, sounds like a good deal. Because they are they believe that you might be a fit, and they just need a little bit more reassurance. They need a little bit more information. And in paying the deposit simply serves as a means of kind of reassuring you that it's worth really investing in them. And if somebody's not even willing to invest, let's say, $300, $500 for a one-off session like this, then it's pretty sure that they will not be a good target for you. So this is how you deal with, I need to think about it. Number one, become a better seller. Number two, become a better buyer. And then when this happens, present some kind of polarizing offer so that you know which camp they fall into.